8,500 years. That's how long people have lived on these lands. Lying off the north coast of Scotland is an archipelago of about 70 islands, a place where history is never far from where you look. There's so much to experience, from dramatic cliffs, wartime shipwrecks, prehistoric tombs, breathtaking beaches, and incredible wildlife. Join me as I explore the Orkney Islands. My journey to the Orkney Islands began in Scrabster, a town on Scotland's northern coast. I boarded the Northlink ferry headed for Stromness, and it turned out to be one of the most scenic ferry rides I've ever taken. I chose the 7 p.m. sailing and enjoyed an amazing sunset from the ship. As we approached Orkney, we sailed past the Isle of Rousay. There were great views of the Old Man of Rousay sea stack and St John's Head, one of the UK's highest vertical sea cliffs. Around 90 minutes later, we arrived in Stromness, a beautiful town on Orkney's mainland island, which happens to be Scotland's 6th largest island. I spent my first night at the Point of Ness campsite in Stromness. It's got all the amenities you would need if you're travelling by campervan. I started my journey in Orkney by exploring the heart of Neolithic Orkney, one of Scotland's 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Approximately 5,000 years ago, the prehistoric people of the Orkney Islands began constructing remarkable stone monuments. The 4 sites within the heart of Neolithic Orkney are exceptional examples of Neolithic craftsmanship and architecture. Together, they represent one of Western Europe's most well-preserved Neolithic landscapes. It's absolutely unbelievable how long this has been here for. I can't believe people were standing on this land almost 5,000 years ago. It's incredible. The Ring of Brodgar is one of the British Isles' largest stone circles, at around 104 metres wide. There's strict instructions to stay to the outside path. It looks like previously that you could go on the inside path, but on the inside of the stones. It would be nice to do that to see the stones close up, but at the moment I think they're doing some conservation efforts there, so you can only walk around the outside, but you can still get a good view. There's a carved ditch around the exterior, and it's surrounded by beautiful lochs and hills. Out of the original 60 stones, 36 are still there today. Around a mile away, you'll find the Stenness stones. There were originally 12 stones, but now 4 massive upright stones remain, reaching heights of up to 6 metres. So I'm walking into the middle of the stone circle here. Wow. So beautiful here. There was a lady playing the drums, and I don't know why, maybe it was something to do with it being the standing stones, but it sounded really nice. And then this here was where they would have a fire back in the day, 5,000 years ago, and sing songs and play music. It'd be so cool to have a fire in the middle though, and everyone's gathered here, and then you have the stones around you. Just behind me here is Skara Brae. I'm going to go along and have a look. It's a really important site here in Orkney, and it's a prehistoric village which is over 5,000 years old. Skara Brae is often referred to as the Scottish Pompeii for its remarkable state of preservation. Dating back 5,000 years, it was discovered in 1850 when powerful waves tore apart a sand dune, revealing several ancient houses hidden within it. Today you can see 9 of these surviving houses. These old dwellings still feature central hearths, box beds, covered passageways, and furniture used for storing household items. The 4th site in the heart of Neolithic Orkney is Maeshowe, a chambered tomb. It was designed so that during the winter solstice, the sun's setting light shines into the passage, lighting up the chamber inside. They only allow a limited number of people inside each day, and you should book your tickets ahead of time. I couldn't get tickets. The next available ones were in 3 weeks, so if you plan to visit, I recommend booking well in advance. I then explored Stromness, which is the 2nd biggest town in Orkney and is very picturesque. Known for its charming harbour and historic stone buildings, Stromness offers a glimpse into Orkney's maritime past. Its cobbled streets and alleyways wind through the town, leading to quaint shops, cafes and art galleries. It reminded me a lot of Lerwick and Shetland, and I picked up some Orkney oatcakes and Orkney butter at a deli that I came across in the town. For those of you travelling by campervan, it's useful to know that the Northlink ferry terminal building in Stromness has £1 showers and a laundry. Yesnabi has incredible cliffs, sea stacks and rocky shores formed from ancient seabed rocks dating back 4 million years. Wow, these cliffs are so impressive, and it's only a 20-30 minute walk from the car park to the point over here where you can see the sea stack. Just where I was standing a moment ago, there's actually an arch there. The water's so blue as well. I then stopped at the Orkney Brewery for lunch, which was recommended to me by a local. They offer a selection of delicious dishes using locally sourced produce and seafood. I tried the Westray open sandwich, which included locally caught smoked mackerel. It was delicious. My lunch at the Orkney Brewery was amazing. The menu there is fantastic. There's lots of seafood from Orkney, so if you're in the area, that's a great place to go for lunch. I've now arrived at a place called the Brodgar. This is an island which is accessible at low tide. When the tide goes out, you can walk across. I checked the tide times today and the low tide is around 3 o'clock, so it's just before 3 o'clock now, and the car park is quite busy here. I think everyone's come for the low tide. I'm going to walk over to the island. This tidal island is reachable for approximately 2 hours before and after low tide. There's remains of a Pictish settlement and later structures, including a Viking church. You can explore a cliff path around the island, and it's even possible to spot puffins here sometimes. I headed to Tingwall to catch the ferry to Rousay Island. The unique thing about this ferry is that you have to reverse onto it, which was a new experience for me. It was a bit challenging, but I successfully managed it. First ferry that I've ever got on that you reverse onto the ferry. If anyone else has experienced a ferry like this, please let me know in the comments where it was. Wow, it was a bit nerve-wracking getting on, but it was manageable. They help you with the reversing and you can look in the mirror, so that was good. Martin, who works on the boat, he actually watches the channel, so he said hello, so that's really cool. So he lives on the island of Rousay, so we're heading there, should be arriving shortly. Great, see you later. Bye. Thanks, Martin. Last night I stayed here on the island of Rousay at the PD motorhome stopover, and PD is the word in Orkney for small or wee. So in mainland Scotland we say wee to describe something small. In Orkney they say PD, and then in Shetland they say PD. So you might see those words if you travel to Orkney or Shetland. So this is the PD motorhome stopover, and there's place for a few vans to park up here. There's incredible views. I woke up this morning to the most amazing views over the islands in the distance. If you're staying in your campervan, you can drop any toilet waste here and you can stay the night here for £10. The owner is actually Martin, who I met on the boat, and he's building an eco house here on the island, and he showed me around yesterday and it's incredible. He's building the house from straw and tyres, and he even has a natural swimming pool. If anyone's watched any videos about natural swimming pools before, you'll know how interesting they are. Martin, the owner, was telling me that his motorhome stopover is part of Campra. So Campra is a new system that has been set up, which is based on the model of Airs in France. So I've never been to France in my campervan, and I've never stayed at an Air. This is the first one, but it's basically a more simple setup where you can drop your waste and you can park somewhere safe overnight, and they're usually cheaper than the full service campsites that you'll find with all the amenities like showers and toilets and bins and all that. I'll keep an eye out for more of these Campra stopovers as I travel more in my van in Scotland. Let's go and explore the island. Rousay is the 6th largest of the Orkney Islands, and it's home to a population of around 219 people. The island has been given the nickname Egypt of the North, and the reason why is because there's a huge number of archaeological sites here on the island, and at the last count there was 166 sites to visit here. So today I'm going to explore some of them. inside they've built this roof here to protect the tomb. Looks like there's also a ladder which goes down to the lower levels. So let's go down and have a look there. Okay, so we're in the lower tomb here and it's a bit dark, so I hope you can see. Minutes on from the previous site, there's another one called the Black Hammer Chambered Cairn. So this one was built 5,300 years ago and it was discovered only in 1936. Wow, let's go and have a look. So you enter through this hatch and into this tomb. Wow, it's like a tunnel. So there's been the concrete roof constructed on top here again. Wow, it's just fascinating that these are so old. People's hands 5,000 years ago lifted these rocks and constructed this tomb. I really enjoyed going to Skara Brae on the mainland of Orkney, but it is a major tourist site, and with a lot of tourists on the mainland in Orkney, of course, everyone heads there. Skara Brae was really fantastic, but I really enjoyed these smaller islands so much more. I've arrived at one of the major sites here on Rousay. This one seems to be the top one to go and see. It's called Midhow Broch and Chambered Cairn. It's just started raining, so I'm going to enjoy my coffee, looking out at the view, wait for the rain to stop before I head down. I think there's a bit of a walk to get to this one. On some of the previous videos, there were questions about what time of year I was visiting these places that I'm going, and it's early September at the moment that I'm here on Orkney. The rain is not stopping, and I was reading some reviews and looking at pictures on Google, and someone wrote on Google reviews, even if it's raining, it's worth walking down because it's that good. So I'm going to embrace the rain and just go for it. I think I've just arrived. This looks like the building here. 32.5 metre long Neolithic tomb with fragile remains about 5,400 years old. Wow. It mentions here that basically these barriers have been put up due to the risk of falling material. So I think previously you could go inside like I was inside some of the other tombs, but this one at the moment it's not possible to go in due to the danger of falling rocks. But still incredible to see. I'm going to go up there. Looks like you can climb up there and have a look from the top. I find it really fascinating that this used to be the tradition of a burial, and then things have obviously changed now in Scotland. Graveyards and cemeteries or cremations are more common. When I was living in Japan, I really liked the tradition that they had there, that after someone has passed away, they have the funeral, but then 1 year later, I think it's maybe 3 years or 5 years or 7 years later, they again have another gathering on that same day to celebrate that person, and everyone comes together who knew that person. They enjoy a meal together, they enjoy a ceremony together, remember that person again, even years after they've passed away. I really like that, and I almost wish we had that here in Scotland. Maybe other families do that, I don't know, but in my family we don't have that tradition, and I think that's really nice. I went to one of those ceremonies and I remember thinking it was a really nice thing to do. Let me know in the comments below what you do in your country for a burial, perhaps in ancient times what happened, and also if you visited anywhere where you've seen something interesting, please leave a comment below and share. Wow, super windy out there, and just beside the tomb is this broch, and it's in quite good condition actually. Brochs are commonly found in the north of Scotland, and I hadn't heard of brochs until earlier in this year when I travelled to Shetland and saw broch for the first time. And maybe that sounds really ridiculous, being from Scotland and not knowing brochs, but in the south of Scotland where I'm from, we don't have any brochs, or I've not seen any. We tend to have castles instead. So it's interesting to learn more about the history in other parts of Scotland. And the plaque outside said that brochs were generally built between 1,900 and 2,300 years ago, which is amazing. I I have stopped at this beach on the north side of the island, which has some seals. I can see some seals out the window here. I'm going to sit inside the van and have a snack, hummus and oatcakes, and watch the seals. Oh, they're bobbing up on the water, and there's some on the rocks as well. I love seals. I stopped at the Shore Teas Honesty Cafe and Heritage Centre before my journey back to the Orkney main island. Oh my gosh, the van is getting soaked with seawater from the ferry. Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to wash the van to get rid of all this seawater, otherwise it's going to get rusty. I'm here at the Highland Park Whisky Distillery in Kirkwall. This is a really well-known brand of whisky, although I don't really know much about it. So today I'm going to do the tour. It costs £30 to do the whisky distillery tour here. Let's go in and find out more. On the tour, I learnt that Highland Park is the largest whisky distillery in Orkney and has been named the best spirit in the world 3 times. Unlike many distilleries in Scotland, Highland Park still practices traditional floor malting. In the video I made about Islay, I also visited Kilchoman Distillery, which shares this traditional approach. Highland Park's peat differs from Islay peat because it lacks tree roots. The £30 tour of the distillery includes 3 tastings and lasts approximately 1 hour. An Orkney local recommended me to try an Orkney patty, and these are basically mince and tatty, and they kind of look a bit like croquettes, I'm not really sure. But I ordered the cheese and onion one. I also got chips and cheese, so this is also a speciality from Scotland. just joking, but it's quite a common order that you can get in the chip shop, and because the cheese is famous on Orkney, I got the chips and cheese with the Orkney cheese just to try it, and also about half a bottle of vinegar has been put on top of these chips. So I'm going to give it a try. Let's see what the patty tastes like. Oh, so there's a few places that sell these patties in Orkney, but I went to the Harbour Fry fish and chip shop here at the seafront in Kirkwall. Okay, let's give the patty a try. Very good. The cheese and onion patty is delicious. Definitely recommend you to try it. And let's try the Orkney cheese and chips. Excellent. Very well seasoned. So you can also eat inside the Harbour Fry, but it was quite busy, and also I don't like to eat in chip shops because my hair gets smelly from the fried oil. I don't know if anyone else has that problem, but yeah. Delicious. Need some more vinegar though. You can never have too much vinegar. The population of the Orkney Islands is around 22,500, and approximately 7,500 people live in Kirkwall. So the population of Orkney is actually a little bit larger than Shetland. It was around 13,000 if I remember. But it makes sense because Orkney is a bit closer to the mainland and is a bit more accessible via ferry as well. There's a huge free car park here in Kirkwall, and you can park your campervan here for 24 hours, and there's also a fantastic campsite within walking distance to the town, and then you can just park up there and walk in, have dinner and explore the town. I've also seen 3 big supermarkets here in Kirkwall. There's a Tesco with clothes as well, a Lidl and a Co-op. Kirkwall is a lovely town to walk around. I visited the spectacular St Magnus Cathedral, which was founded by a Viking in 1137 using local red and yellow sandstone and built over a period of 300 years. I also went to the Kirkwall Museum to learn about Orkney's history and visited the Earls and Bishops' palaces. I enjoyed walking around the streets, checking out shops and taking in the harbour views. Really enjoyed my walk around Kirkwall. It's very busy there today. There's a cruise ship that has docked and Kirkwall is full of people, so if you do plan on coming to Orkney and you want to do things like the Highland Park Distillery tour, I'd recommend to book in advance or perhaps check if there's a cruise ship docking that day. Here at the petrol station, I wonder how much it's going to cost for the diesel. Looks like the diesel is $161.90. I've just arrived at the Sheila Fleet Kirk Gallery and Cafe, and apparently this is an amazing place for lunch, and also Sheila Fleet is one of Scotland's leading jewellery designers and she has an OBE. Looks like the gallery and cafe are inside a renovated church. Let's go in and have a look. Inside the church, there's lots of Sheila Fleet's jewellery on display, and the restaurant serves lots of amazing local food, including seafood. I'd already had lunch, so I didn't have anything, but I recommend you to go if you visit Orkney. I've just arrived here at a viewpoint for the Church Hill barriers, which you can see here in the distance behind me. I'm going to drive down further and have a look at them from a bit closer. I just drove over the Church Hill barriers, and there's a few different barriers that you can cross, and I spotted some shipwrecks here in the bay behind me, so I'm going to go and have a look. I think this might be the first time I've ever seen a shipwreck in Scotland. On the sign it mentioned that before they built these barriers, they actually sunk old ships to block the passage of submarines and boats entering into the bay. The Church Hill barriers are a set of 4 causeways built during World War II to safeguard the Royal Navy anchorage Scapa Flow from enemy submarine attacks. Named after Prime Minister Winston Churchill, they link several islands, effectively blocking eastern access to Scapa Flow. These barriers not only served as wartime defences, but also improved transportation between the Orkney Islands. They were constructed after the sinking of HMS Royal Oak by a German submarine in 1939, highlighting the need for better protection. The barriers consist of large concrete blocks, replacing older block ships, and they were completed in September 1944, officially opening in May 1945, just after World War II ended in Europe. While crossing the causeways, the visible shipwrecks are the block ships from the wartime defences. On the island of Lamholm is the Italian Chapel, which is a small church that Italian prisoners of war built during World War II. They transferred a simple hut into a beautiful chapel using creative decorations. It's now a famous landmark and a symbol of hope and artistry. I've just arrived somewhere called Houghton, and this is where I'm going to be catching the vehicle ferry over to the Isle of Rousay. Rousay looks like it's an amazing island, and there are amazing cliffs and a big sea stack. It seems that there's 2 different ferries that go to Rousay. One is only a passenger ferry, and then this one that I'm taking is the one that takes vehicles and passengers. When I tried booking this ferry, some of the slots were already sold out, so I recommend booking this ferry in advance if you plan to go to Rousay. We're about to get on. Okay, let's go. Just arrived on the Isle of Rousay and I already love it. It's so remote, there's nobody here compared to the main island of Orkney. These are the kind of places that I like. The Isle of Rousay has a population of approximately 400 residents and has a unique landscape distinct from the rest of Orkney. The scenery is very dramatic and mountainous. So I've just arrived here at Rackwick car park and parked up my van. I'm going to head down and have a look at the beach. My first impression of this place is incredible. It is, I think, maybe the most impressive place I've ever seen in Scotland so far. Haven't been that many places, but wow. Look at those cliffs behind me. This place is fantastic. It's just about to get dark, so I'm going to stay here for the night and then explore more tomorrow. Last night I stayed in the Rackwick Beach car park and had an amazing night's sleep. I've just come down to have a look at the beach again before starting the walk up to the Old Man of Rousay. So it's up that way and it takes around 3 hours to do the return hike. It's one of the most iconic sites in Orkney and I'm really excited to see it. You can see in the distance the Northlink ferry. It's sailing past, so that's the morning sailing, which leaves from Scrabster on the north of mainland Scotland and then arrives into Stromness. Now I'm about to start the hike up to the Old Man of Rousay, and it takes around 3 hours, 1.5 hours each way. So let's get going. Really enjoying the walk so far. It's so nice to walk along the top of the cliffs here and look back over Rackwick Beach. Let's keep going. So the path pretty much looks like this. It's not the easiest hike though, there is a bit of an uphill from the car park, so if you're not much of a walker or hiker, or if you don't like hiking on hills, or if you have some mobility issues, I probably don't recommend doing this hike. start to see the Old Man of Hoy poking up there, not too far. Oh, I think I've just arrived. Wow. Oh, wow, look at those cliffs behind me. That is insane. There are no words. And just in front of me here is the Old Man of Hoy. There he is. Wow, I've never seen anything like that in my life before. It is so impressive. The Old Man of Hoy is a famous sea stack, standing about 449 feet tall, and is one of the tallest sea stacks in the United Kingdom. The Old Man of Hoy is a popular attraction and has become an iconic natural landmark in Orkney. The hike to the Old Man of Hoy was amazing. I really enjoyed it and I was so lucky with the weather. I arrived here at the beginning of the walk for Dwarfy Stone, and this apparently is the oldest cut-out rock Neolithic burial chamber in the United Kingdom. So let's go and have a look. The view of this valley is just incredible. Oh my goodness. Wow. I'm going to have a look inside. I'm scared to go in. It says on the sign here that it was hollowed out using stone tools by hand around 5,000 years ago, around the same time that the other Neolithic structures were constructed in Orkney, and also around the same time as the standing stones. The Scapa Flow Museum on the Isle of Hoy tells the story of Scapa Flow and Orkney's vital role in both world wars. It has been nominated for Museum of the Year, and personally it's one of the best museums I've ever visited. That museum was really interesting, and after going to the museum I wanted to come here to the Naval Cemetery on the outskirts of the town. So there are a lot of graves here for the people who died in a lot of the ships that were sank in the First and Second World Wars. Ferry from Kirkwall to Westray. I called up yesterday and booked it by phone. You can book it online as well, but my return ferry didn't have any availability, so I'm on standby for the way back. But basically they said I can pay over the phone or I can pay on the ferry, so I chose to pay on the ferry, so I assume someone will come and collect the money soon. I've made it onto the Isle of Westray, and my first stop here is Scapa Flow. It's located around a 4-minute drive from the ferry terminal, and I heard it's a great place for seeing puffins, so fingers crossed I can see some today. Scapa Flow is a bulky sea stack off the Westray coast. It's said to be one of the best places in all of Orkney to see puffins at close range. So it looks like the puffins just left. It's just the beginning of September now, so they probably left just a few days ago or last week, so I just missed them. Wow, I didn't know that puffins live to be 20 years old. That's really interesting. If you're here in April, May time, you've got a better chance of seeing the puffins, as that's when they arrive in Westray. So apparently there are 2 shops on the island, and actually there are a few things produced on the island. So there's this cheese, which the lady at the shop told me is produced in the north of Westray, and there's also lots of cookies as well that are produced on Westray. So I bought this smoked cannonball cheese to try. I already picked up some oatcakes when I was in Stromness, so I'm going to try these as well and see how they go together. I've stopped at this really nice picnic spot, and the beach here is incredible. Because the sun's out today, the water is so blue, it looks amazing. And there's nobody here, it's just me, which is really cool. Let's try the Orkney oatcakes and cheese. Very good. Creamy, but has a smoky flavour to it. Might be good with some chutney, but very good. I was checking on Google and I saw this place called The Links, and it's a beach, and the reason I came here is because on Google people had posted pictures of seals that they'd seen here, so I've decided to come. But this beach is actually amazing. The pictures that I saw don't do it justice. want to go out too deep just in case there's currents. Very refreshing. I've just arrived at the campsite here on the Isle of Westray. This is where I'll be staying while I'm here. It has everything you need if you have a camper van, all the disposal and fill up facilities, and there's also showers and a laundry, and it's a great place to come with tents as well. Around 600 people live on the Isle of Westray, and the main town, Kirkwall, has a hotel, campsite, shop and popular fish and chip shop, which was closed when I went. I've had an incredible time exploring the Orkney Islands in my campervan Ernie, but the adventure on these islands is not over yet. Join me in my next video where I'll be catching the shortest scheduled flight in the world, which leaves from here, the Isle of Westray. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you next time.